Forgot to put my headphone on. How is everybody? Oh, great, Sarah. You're not on your cell phone for all of February, but you still have to leave. All right. Well, we'll try to cover all we can. All right, Gabriel, we got it. Ah, so that's one we were just playing, Sarah. So you like Symphony number 5? Okay. All right. So I see a lot of people haven't told me what their favorite part of what their favorite Beethoven piece is. I need to know that. All right, I need to move this out here a little bit, or else we're going to be, everything's going to fall off of here. We don't want that to happen. Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, okay. I know some of you like Fur-Elise. Some of you told me you like Fur-Elise, right? Well, welcome to class today. It's good to see everybody, even though I can't see you. It's good to see that you're here. We're missing somebody. Missing Cade. Maybe he'll join us here in just a minute. All right. I have been grading papers, so you need to check your grade book. I sent messages to several of you. Okay. If you see a note, if you see a 0 in the grade book, you might want to check your notes because I might have sent you a message. Some of you sent me compositions in a format that I couldn't open. Okay. So obviously, if I can't open it, I can't grade it. So please check your messages because I might have left you a message about a composition. Whoa, something's not working here. Hang on 1 second. We gotta redo this. That's better. I feel like I'm being pulled off the bench. You might have sent something in a format that I couldn't read. Okay. So if you see a 0 in the grade book for something that you know that you turned in, you will need to check your messages to see if I sent you a message about it, okay? I haven't graded everything yet. It's very time consuming to grade theory because I have to check every single note of every single person, all right? So it takes me a little while to grade theory. And I actually have some graded that I haven't posted yet because I hadn't graded everybody's, okay? So you're doing good in general. I wanted to go over your hymns for just a minute. So I use a rubric to grade your compositions by, okay? So here's an example. For your hymn rubric, there are 6 categories that I'm looking at, and there are 3 levels of grades. So I'm looking at the time signature, I'm looking at the key signature, I'm looking at your melody, I'm looking at your 4 voices, soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. I'm looking at whether you have started your piece and ended it on your tonic. And I'm looking to make sure that you have used the correct chords according to your scale for your piece. Okay? So then with those 6 things, there are 3 categories. There's that you did the correct thing always, that you sometimes did the correct thing, or that you never did the correct thing. Okay? And so when I'm grading, I mark it off that way. And when I look at the key signature, I'm making sure that you have the correct key signature at the beginning. You've put it in the right place. And then I'm looking to make sure that your chords match your key signature that you've chosen. Okay? I'm also looking to make sure that you have your soprano, alto, tenor, and bass all throughout the piece because you want to have all 4 voices if you're writing a hymn, correct? All right. And so I've graded 3 of them, and I think 1 I couldn't read, and 2 people hadn't submitted those. So if you have not submitted your hymn, you need to contact me, okay? Because remember, as of last Thursday, I'm not allowing late work. But if your hymn was not submitted and there's a reason for it, you need to contact me because 1 assignment missed and a 0 on that assignment. If you had an A in class and you get a 0 on an assignment, it's going to drop your grade down to a C right away. Okay? And we don't want that in music. This is an elective. We want you to have an A in music. Okay? So please be very careful to submit all of your assignments. Email me if you have a problem, or if you're not understanding something, come to meet me in my office hour. All right? Let me know if you're not understanding something or if you're having difficulty, and I'll be glad to help you. All right? All right, let's move ahead. My verse this week is Psalm 105:2. Sing unto him, sing psalms unto him, talk ye of all his wondrous works. And once again, we're told to sing songs and sing psalms unto him. Let's remember to pray for our classmates. And anybody have a prayer request specifically today? I see somebody typing. Let me grab a piece of paper here so I can write that down. Paper is eluding me. There we go. All right, so Eloise, her mom and her sister are sick. We have the flu going around in our church, so please pray for everybody who has it and pray that nobody else gets it. Sarah's overwhelmed. We will pray for you, Sarah. No worse feeling than being overwhelmed with all the work that you have to do. I understand that fully. All right, let me pause the camera. Lord, we thank you for our class today. Thank you for the opportunity that we have to meet together. We pray that you would be with each student here in the class and that you would help us to learn everything that we can today and to have full understanding of all the concepts presented. We also pray for those who are not with us and that you would just be with them and bless them. We pray for each prayer request, Eloise, whose mom and sister are both sick, and also for Sarah, who's feeling overwhelmed. We pray that you just give healing to those who are sick and that you would give peace and calmness to Sarah, who's overwhelmed with her all the work that she has to do. We pray that you would just help her to get it all done and to be calm while doing it. We thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so just a little ad here. February 1st, our classes opened up on Big River. Okay, so you can now sign up for your classes for next semester, or actually for next year, okay? The 2019-2020 school year. During the month of February, our classes are on sale for buy one, get one half off, which is such a tremendous deal, okay? So if you have friends or siblings who are interested in music theory and composition, if they sign up during February for Music Theory 1, then they will get Music Theory 2 at half price. Isn't that awesome? I also teach history classes here. I teach U.S. history, world history, American government, and new this coming year I'll be teaching world geography for high school and for middle school. So I'm really excited about that. I also teach a middle school U.S. history class as well. So I'm excited about all those classes. And I hope you can join me maybe in another one, in a history class or something like that. It'd be a lot of fun to have you join me there. All right, that's the end of the ads for today. All right, due last night was your Alfred's Theory Unit 14, your review, and also your Master Theory page 43. Due next week is Master Theory page 45 and a little composition, okay? We're going to talk about that in just a minute. I did note that one of you had turned in an Alfred's Theory assignment where it should be a Master Theory assignment. So if you see a 0 somewhere in the grade book and you know that you turned it in, just double check that. I did send you a message via the PSL gradebook telling you to resubmit the correct assignment, okay? So be very careful about that because, like I said, 1 0 can bring your grade down pretty much, and you don't want that to happen, right? All right. This is your Master Theory book, okay? Let's look at this page for just a minute. I didn't put the page number on there. Why did I not do that? I wonder. Yeah, so this is page 43. So this is what was due last night. Okay, let's have a look at it. Some of you had questions, all right? So in example 1, they want you to write the proper chord symbols below, including any inversions. Now, the neat thing is, I think it was just yesterday, that I added some charts to our class page. How many of you saw that? The charts that I added to our class page. Any of you see that? Okay. Some of you were struggling to understand the keys and the chords that went with them. So I added 2 charts to our class page yesterday that you can print out. If I were you, I would print them out, or you can do them online if that makes you happier. But they will help you when you're doing your homework. Okay, they'll help you maybe not have to think so hard to figure out what keys go with what. All right. So for example, you could use it here on this page. So on that first line, we're in the key of A minor. So you were supposed to go across that page and tell us the proper chord symbols below and include any inversions. All right. So you'll remember that if we want to mark inversions, obviously, if we're in root position and we're in a minor key, we're going to do, why did it not work? If we're in a minor key, we are going to do, whoa, hang on a sec, that's not what we want. Hang on 1 second here. All right, I'm trying to get the size to, here we go. Okay, so minor key, we would mark with a lowercase letter, which is not letting me do right at the moment. And if it's in root position, we just use the letter, okay? If it is in first inversion, what number do we put beside it for a first inversion chord? A 6, right. What number do we put beside it for a second inversion chord? Six over 4, right, 6/4, okay? So let's look in the key of A minor. Obviously, the first one is done for us, and they have actually used capital letters. I was always taught to use lowercase, but in this theory book, they're using capital letters for minors. What is the answer for, actually, let's do this. Let me enable you to draw, okay? It's not letting me draw, but that's because my computer is so slow. I'm going to give you all the ability to draw, and let's have you go across and label number 1. Let's have Eloise do measure 2, Gabriel measure 3, Josh measure 4, Lachlan measure 5, and Sarah measure 6. Label that chord for us if you don't mind. This is your homework that you did last night, so it should already be done. Okay, you can use a text box is the best way to do it, and label your chord. Okay. I said for Lachlan to do measure 5, and Sarah does measure 6, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you'll be doing measure 5. Okay. So measure 2 should be a 4, 6, 4, right. Measure, whoa, just dropped everything. Measure 3 should be a 5, 6, correct. Measure 4. Josh, are you okay doing measure 4? Measure 5. Should be a 4, 6, that's right. What is the V43? Oh, I see. Sarah, you did measure 7. You need to do the measure right before that. Okay, Josh. So you need to look at measure 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And we're in the key of A minor. So this is from homework last night. You got it? Okay. So you do measure 4. Sarah's going to do measure 6 for us. Okay. Measure 6 is a tonic 6. That's correct. So let's help Josh out here. Let's help his thinking. So measure 4, Josh. What chord is that? We have an A, a C, and an E. What chord is that? Nope, it's not an E because it has the A in it. All right, Eloise has it. It's a 1 chord. It's actually an A minor chord, but it's in an inversion. So it has an E on the bottom instead of an A on the bottom. So that makes it be a 1, 6, 4 chord. All right, so can you put up there a Roman numeral 1 and then a 6, 4 beside it? You can't put the 6 over the 4, obviously, so just write it beside it. Okay? So then you all, for number 2 and number 3, you were to write the chords in. Okay? And you had to pay attention to whether you had a 6, 6, 4, or a 7 to let you know what number went on the bottom. Okay? And number 4, they give you the chord to write, and you had to write it in open position, which means that from the bottom note to the top note, there's more than an octave. Then you need to analyze the harmony in the chorale. Now, you know what? If you take theory in college in your freshman year, what you just did at the bottom of this page is what you'll be doing in your freshman theory class. Isn't that awesome? You guys are way ahead of the game. All right. Gabriel, you had trouble with which one? The last one? Okay. So you look at the very bottom note. What key is that in anyway? What key is that? The bottom one. What key is it? It's actually not C. How do we know it's not C? It's A minor. Okay? Because you have an A minor chord in the first measure and you have an A minor chord in the last measure. So it's actually A minor. Okay? Now, use your text box. All right? Let's work on this together. Here's what we're going to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. All right. I'm going to put you into a breakout room, and I want you to do that bottom line together in your breakout room. Okay? And let's pray that this works today. I might need to come and get the page for you, so if it's not there right when you get there, hang tight and I'll be right there, okay? All right, let's do this. Nope, it didn't do it. There's a little thing on the left that says size. Yeah. Okay, it's not letting me put you into breakout rooms here. I don't know why not, but it's not. It's probably my very slow computer. All right, I'll just, oh, I see the problem. I have to add the room first. All right, I'm going to do 2 breakout rooms, okay? I'm going to end the breakouts for a minute. Okay. All right, now we're going to add our rooms. We should have room 1, and now we have room 2. All right, here we go. Sorry, it's just that my laptop is very slow. That's the problem here. It's not the internet, it's my laptop. It's old. Need a new one. All right. So now you're in your breakout rooms. And here we go. I want you to work together. And maybe by working with a classmate, that will help you to figure out how to do it. Okay? Sometimes a student helping another student does better than me explaining it. All right? So here we go. Give you about 5 minutes, okay? And if you don't get done, no problem. Here we go. Let me pause my camera first. All right, so we're back to our main meeting. How'd it go? Everybody understand what they were doing? I thought you were doing pretty good there. Okay, we had a couple of blips, but we did pretty good overall. Very good. Okay. All right, it takes practice. Like I said, this is actually freshman level theory. Okay, if you decide that you're going to go to college and study music, then you are going to do a lot of that actually. Okay, so let me see what's happening right here, that my screen is blank. I'm not sure about that. That's very strange. Why is my screen blank? All right, Eloise does not fully understand how you figure out what is what. All right. So Eloise, you'll need to look at the page and look at the charts that I posted yesterday. Okay, I'm going to grab something off my cork board here. This is called the Nashville number system. It's major degrees of the scale. Okay, you can look this up online or you can buy one. This is like a little one to go in your notebook. This is the major scales. This is not minor scales. Okay, we're talking about minor scales right now, but this is major scales. But to answer Eloise's question, what we're doing is we're taking our scale. All right, so let's pretend like this is A minor. It's not A minor, this is A major. Let's pretend like this is A minor. So our 1 chord is A, our 2 chord is B, our 3 chord is C sharp, our 4 chord is E, our 5 chord is D, and then E, then 6 is F sharp, 7 is G sharp, and then of course our octave is A. Okay, so our primary chords for the key of A are A, D, and E. Okay, and they're numbered 1, 4, and 5. And then of course all the rest of them are numbered as well. But when you are analyzing your piece, you look at all 4 notes to determine what chord that is. Okay, and once you determine what chord it is, then you look at your bottom note. And when you look at your bottom note, okay, Gabriel, this is for you. When you look at your bottom note, the very bottom note, that tells you if it's in root position, first inversion, or second inversion. So your bottom note determines what inversion you're in. Okay, so let's say that we have an A minor chord, and my 3 chord tones are A, C, and E. Okay, if the A is on the bottom, it's in root position. If the C is at my bottom note, it's in the first inversion, it would be 1, 6. If the E is on the bottom, it's in the second inversion, and it would be 1, 6, 4. Even with 4 notes, you always look at the very bottom note. Okay, because obviously, if we have 4 voices, we're going to have to double a note in a triad. If we have a 7th chord, we have 4 notes anyway, right? But we have to double a note. So you'll see one of your 3 notes on there twice. Okay? I'm so glad, Sarah. And Gabriel too. Yeah, so you guys can email me or text me when you have those questions, okay? If you're doing your homework and you're stuck. I don't answer emails on Sunday. Monday is hit and miss. Monday is our day off because we pastor a church. My husband pastors it, and I'm the pianist, and it's a very busy day, so we take Mondays off. So sometimes I might answer emails on Mondays. I don't answer the phone on Mondays, okay? But sometimes I might answer emails on Mondays since I don't do Sundays. All right, so our composer of the month is Beethoven. That's why I asked you what was your favorite Beethoven piece. Remember that he is a classical / romantic composer because he kind of lived at the end of the classical period into the romantic period. He was born in 1770 and died in 1827. So he was around right during the time that America's Revolutionary War was happening, the War of 1812. He was around all during that time. He was born in Bonn, in the Holy Roman Empire, which is now Germany. He died in Vienna, Austria. Okay, just some pieces that I would recommend that you listen to. The Piano Sonata Number 8 in C minor, Opus 13, which is known as the Sonata Pathétique, was written in 1798 when he was 27 years old, and it was published the very next year. That's my very favorite sonata that he wrote. You do know that later in life he became deaf and was able to still write music, which is totally amazing. This is a quotation from him. To sing a wrong note is insignificant, but to sing without passion is unforgivable. So he wanted you to have passion, and if there's anything that you can say about Beethoven's music, it's the same, that it is passionate, right? All right. The very first chord in Sonata Pathétique is very loud. Okay, here it goes. It's a minor chord. All right, and it goes from there and builds up, very suspenseful. I love Sonata Pathétique, and I have it right here. I think I'm supposed to have it right here. Yes, I'm just going, okay. I only have the second movement right here, and the second movement is much slower and softer than the first movement. Maybe I'll play it for you during break because once again, I'm on the computer that won't let me bring stuff over. Um, but I love Beethoven's music. It's very interesting and very the fact that he wrote it while he a lot of it while he was deaf is just amazing to me. I can't. He wrote entire symphonies after he was deaf, which I just can't imagine. I can hear music in my head, but to hear an entire symphony in my head and write out each individual instrument, I think is amazing, really amazing. All right, so we're going to talk about minor triads because you're going to be using those quite a bit here for the next little bit. If you have a major chord, in order to turn it into a minor chord, you just lower that middle note a half step. So if I had C major, I just lower that middle note, and that gives me a minor chord. Okay, very easy, not hard to think about. All right. Let's say I had A major. That's how I turn that into a minor chord. Let's say I had D major. Okay, very easy to do. All right. Normally, we represent minor triads or minor chords with a lowercase letter. Like I said, in your master theory book, they're not doing that. I would like it if you would do that, okay? Uh, because that helps you to indicate whether it's major or minor, is if you use an uppercase or a lowercase Roman numeral, okay? If you're writing it out as letters, then you would write it like this right here. You would write CM, and that would be your chord, okay? CM would be C minor. Now, if you look on page 92 in your textbook, which is your Alfred Theory book, you will see minor scales. We're going to be covering minor scales and triads in our music in this class, okay? So we want to learn those really, really well. Yes, Eloise, you can also use a lowercase letter there to say C minor. That's correct. Okay, but you don't have to when you put the M after it. When you put the M after it, then you don't have to. Okay. All right, now let's talk about augmented and diminished chords up until break time. Um, a lot of times in music, your added chords like minors or diminished or augmented are called color chords. And they add lots of interest and color to your music, okay? Um, if I wanted to make a C diminished chord, I would take my C major, which is C, E, and G, and I would lower the top two notes a half step. So it would sound like this. Here's C major, and here's C diminished. Okay? So I would just lower my top two notes a half step. Okay? If I want to make an augmented chord, I would raise my top note. I would go back to C, E, G, and then I would raise my G up a half step to make an augmented chord. Okay? They just add color in your music. Okay? So if I wanted to play a song, I like to use Twinkle Twinkle because it's so easy for everybody to identify with. So if I wanted to do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, I could play it through with no color chords. Listen to it. That's just the beginning, all right? If I wanted to add color chords to it, I could go. Right? So I just added lots of color chords to it to give it more interest or more color, right? So you can take any song and do that to it. You can take a praise and worship song, you can take an old hymn, okay? Yes, some tension is okay, Gabriel. That makes your listener want to hear what's next, right? That makes them want to keep listening and hear what's next, okay? I'm going to try to switch cameras for just a second. I don't know if it's going to work today or not because this is very temperamental. Let's see if it gives me the option. Stopping my webcam for just a second, okay? Selecting the camera. Yay, it's giving me the option. All right, now let's see if it'll switch for me. Yay, it did. Okay, but it's kind of in the wrong place, but let's see if we can get it to be in the right place. All right, there we go. All right, I want it to be right overhead. There we go. Okay, so if I am playing a C chord, C, E, and G, that's a C major chord. If I want to turn it into a minor, I take this middle note and I'll lower it a half step. Okay? If I want to make a diminished chord, I would take my major chord, I would lower my middle note a half step, and I would lower my top note a half step, and I would make C diminished. Okay, Eloise, if I already have a minor chord, okay, so let's say I had A minor, we move down here, let's say I had A minor, then I would only lower my top note. Okay, but if I'm starting with a major chord, then I'm going to lower my top two notes to make it diminished. Okay, if I have a major chord and I want to make it augmented, then I'm going to raise my top note to make an augmented sound. Okay? All right, any questions about that? Yes, Eloise, you cannot make an augmented out of a minor chord. It has to be a major chord to make it augmented. Okay? All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break. So it's 1:47. So I'll see you back at 1:52. Okay? Because I want to go over the next slide before I switch the camera again. Okay? So let's look at the next slide. Now, we've seen this several times, but I just want to go over it very quickly again. Okay? Now you have a whole repertoire of major and minor keys. Okay? And augmented and diminished chords. So we're going to figure out how to know when to use them. All right, so let's look at this scale that you have right here on your page. Okay, this is a C major scale, and these are all of the chords that go with the C major scale. All right, so C is 1, and that's a major chord. D is 2, and that's a minor chord. E is 3, and that's a minor chord. Then we have F as 4, which is a major chord. Then we have G as 5, which is a major chord. Then we have A minor as our 6th chord. Then we have our 7th chord. I'm going to move it down here. The 7th chord is actually a diminished chord because B major would be D sharp and F sharp. If I wanted to make B minor, I would lower my middle note like this, and this would be B minor. If I want to make diminished, then I'm going to lower that top one too. So a not a seventh, sorry. Chord number 7 in a major scale is a diminished chord. And then I go back to my one chord, which is C. So how do I know when to use those? Can you guys tell me? How would I know that I want to use one of those chords? If I'm writing a melody or if I am harmonizing a melody, how would I know what I want to do? Try to get my camera to work like I want it right here. If they contain a note that's in the melody, exactly. Okay, so if I have a melody, let's do our friend Twinkle Twinkle. That's my melody, all right? So always I'm going to start my first note with my tonic, right? Okay, I'm trying to tighten my little microphone here. It's not wanting to tighten for me. All right, so my first note is C, okay? So I'm obviously going to start with C because that's my first note, okay, and that's my tonic. But then I immediately go to a G. Twinkle, twinkle. So I have a G. So now I have an option. I can either stay with my C like this, or I can use one of these other chords that also have a G. What are my options? Thank you, Gabriel. It's a bald one. What are my options? If I don't want to use a C chord, what are my options? I could do a G, or right, and Louise, I could do a 3 chord or a 5 chord, right? So let's try both. Let's do it up here. That doesn't sound too bad. Now let's try the 3. That has a more pleasant sound, doesn't it? Okay, so I could put a 3 right there. Okay, then I'm going to go to the A. So what chord can I use with an A? What chord can I use with an A? Hello, Cade. Welcome to class, bud. I can use 2, 4, or 6. Right, okay, so let's try it. Here's 2. Right, now let's try it with 4. I could do either one, right? Okay, I could use either 2 or 4. They both sound nice. I could use either one. Now, but the one thing that you have to remember is when I'm at the end of my phrase, and I did notice this in some of your hymn compositions, okay? Think about this. When you're at the end of a phrase, you want to try to go back to your tonic or to your 5 chord if possible. So listen to this. All right, I want to go back to my tonic. I could have done this. I can do that, but it doesn't sound like the end of a phrase, right? So I want it to sound like the end of a phrase. So that's how you know when to use it. Now, if you had I could put a minor in there if I want to. That doesn't sound good. That's an augmented. That's a diminished. Okay, so you can play around with it and see what sounds good to you. All right, but that's how you know the chords that you're going to use is the chords that you see right in front of you right here on your slide that are based on the scale. That's how you're going to know which ones. Okay, I'm switching cameras again. All right, here we go. Be ready for trouble. Hopefully you won't have trouble. Alright, now let's redo this and select the other camera. This doesn't take as long on another computer. This computer is just so slow. Alright, I'm trying to select the camera. Here we go. I am going back to the one in the middle. Yay, here we go. Should work now. Sorry, Kate. You need to go back and watch the first part of the class, bud, though, okay? Because we talked about some things that we were talking about yesterday, all right? Okay, so let's go to our next slide. Let's talk about primary triads in minor keys, all right? We've talked about major triads, primary triads in major keys, which are 1, 4, and 5. Now let's look at minor keys and talk about them, okay? Whoa, we don't want to do that just yet. Go back, don't look. It's too slow. All right, take your Alfred theory. You saw the answers, I'm afraid. All right, take your Alfred theory, and we are going to go to page 96, okay? In your Alfred theory book, in this one, we're going to page 96. All right, so the most important triads, or your primary triads, are still 1, 4, and 5, okay? However, they're just a tad different because we're in a minor scale. Remember that when we use a minor scale to compose or to do anything, we most often use the harmonic minor. What does that mean? What does harmonic mean? What's a harmonic minor? Right. It means that the 7th note of the scale is raised a half step. Okay? So if we're using the harmonic minor form of the scale, then we're going to have an extra accidental in there. So look at your sample right there. It has A minor, has no sharps and no flats, and a key signature. But because I'm doing the harmonic form, I'm going to raise that 7th note to a G sharp. So now I have a G sharp that I'm using, okay? So because of that, when we do our primary chords in a minor key, our 1 chord is minor, our 4 chord is minor, but our 5 chord ends up being a major chord. So our primary chords in a minor key are 1 as a minor, 4 as a minor, and 5 as a major chord. Okay, so let's see what that sounds like. All right, so here's A minor. Here's my 4 chord, and here's my 5 chord. Okay, because my A minor harmonic minor scale sounds like this. Right? So here's my minor keys. So I want you to go down to the bottom of that page, 96, and I want you to build the primary triad for each minor scale. You're only going to need to add 2 notes to each chord, okay? Actually, hang on a minute. That's not the one that I have there next, but let's do the bottom together, okay? So, if I look at E minor, my primary triad obviously is E minor, so I'm just going to put a note on every other line, right? So I end up with an E minor chord. The bottom of page 96, okay? Then my 4 chord is going to be A minor, so write the name of that above it. And my 5 chord is going to be B. Actually, sorry. Yeah. Because we're in the key of E minor, sorry. All right. So you have E minor, A minor, and B. So it should look like this. Okay. Got it? All right. Now let's look at the next page, okay? So the next page is talking about the chord progressions. So because the 1, 4, and 5 triads contain all the notes of the harmonic minor scale, they can be used to accompany most simple melodies in minor keys. In many chord progressions, the dominant 7th chord is used instead of the 5. So it adds a little bit of color and a little bit of interest to add the 7th there instead of just the plain 5, okay? The pictures in the middle are just showing you how that you can make your triad, your chord progression sound smoother by using inversions, okay? So I could play them right here. Then I could pick up my hands and move to here. And I could pick up my hands and move to here. But I can keep my hands right in the same general area and make my music easier to read on the staff by staying in the same general area by using inversion. So here's root position D minor. Then if I use first inversion for my 5 chord, then back to my root for my first chord, then I can use a second inversion for my 4 chord. It just makes it easier to stay in the same general area. Okay? So look down at the bottom, and we have how many people in class? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. We have 4 questions. So I would like Kate and Eloise to do number 1. Gabriel, you can do number 2. Josh and Lachlan number 3, and Sarah number 4. Okay? Down on the bottom of page 97, and then we're going to check them. Okay? So you're going to write the chords in root position in the key of E minor. Then you're going to write the chord symbols above each one. Actually, wait a minute. I just goofed. You have to rewrite it. So let's have Cade, Eloise, and Gabriel do number 1 and 2, and Josh, Lachlan, and Sarah do number 3 and 4. I'm sorry, I forgot that we had to do that. Okay, Cade. Hang tight. All right. And you might want to screenshot it when we check it, okay? I'm going to pause my camera just a second. To do that. It's okay if you don't get it all done, Sarah. We're just learning how to do it, okay? It's okay if you don't get it all done. Maybe do half of the first one and half of the second one. Then at least you'll have a few measures done. All right, so let's look at the answers and see how you did. So how'd you do? You see how on the second row, number 2 and number 3, we have A minor / E. That means it's an A minor chord, but the E's on the bottom. And so it's another way of saying that we're in the second inversion. So if you look at popular music, you'll see that quite a bit. There'll be a chord name / and another letter, and that's telling you that you put that note on the bottom. All right, good. So it sounds like everybody was understanding it. Sarah, how about you? And Josh. I didn't hear from Josh here. How's it coming there? There's not a thing wrong with saying that you don't understand something, guys, or that you're lost, okay? Music theory is like math. You have to learn the basics and then you build on it, okay? That's what music theory is like. Okay. All right. That's fine. Make yourself a little handy key to keep with you when you do it. Or actually, you can print one off from online. You just Google bass clef, okay? Exactly, Gabriel. Just like math. If you don't learn your multiplication tables, you cannot do algebra, right? All right. So let's go ahead. A little bit behind today. We've got a lot more to do here. All right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oops, I only have 5. Okay. So everybody, Cade, you do A minor. I'm going to let you draw this on the staff. Okay. I want you to write what would be the name. You don't need to write them out. Just tell us the letter name of each one. So Cade's going to do A minor. Eloise is going to do E minor. Gabriel is going to do F. Josh and Lachlan will do B, and Sarah minor. Okay? And hang on a minute. I'm trying to get that. There we go. Use your text box, okay? And just tell us the name. In the key of A minor, what would be the tonic key? Yes, Sarah. Okay, so just you can look at your page in your textbook there, and you can also use the left over there. The circle of fifths. Remember, the minor is the little one in the middle, okay? Major's on the outside, minor's in the middle. So basically, if you're doing A minor, this is your root. To the left is your 4 chord, and to the right is your 5 chord. That's so simple. All right? So tonic, subdominant, and dominant. To the left. Yeah, whoever's doing F minor, you don't have to write it out. You can just write the name of it. It's fine. Save a little bit of time here. So I want to make sure you guys understand this. All right. Whoever's doing E minor, you've got the subdominant and the dominant backwards. Sorry to say. B minor's looking good so far, F minor's looking good, and A minor, and so is D flat. Keep going. There you go. Good job on D flat. Good job on F minor. Okay, so remember in B minor, we're going to have an F sharp in the key signature, so the dominant has to be F sharp. All right, Cade, you need some help up there, friend? So A minor is your tonic. Your subdominant is the 4 note of the chord. Okay? So what is 4 above A? We say A. Thank you, Sarah. B, C, D would be 4. All right, you guys are doing good. So for A minor, the subdominant would be D and the dominant would be E. Okay, good job, everybody. So that lets me know that you're understanding what we're doing, and that just makes my day. All right, let's go to our next slide. So chord progressions. This is lesson 55 in your book. Why does it say 55, I wonder? Yeah, this is major chord progressions, okay? But we're going to talk about minor chord progressions. I think I got the wrong slide. Leave it to me. All right. Chords that move or progress from one to another, remember, are called chord progressions or cadences. Because the 1, 4, and 5 chords contain all of the notes of the major scale, they can be used to accompany most simple melodies. All right. And the same goes for minor chords. We can use the 1, 4, and 5 in a minor key to accompany a melody as well. Okay? So here are the primary triads in the minor key that we just talked about. In the harmonic minor scale, the 1 is minor, the 2 is diminished, the 3 is actually augmented. See the little plus sign there? The 4 is minor, the 5 is major, the 6 is major, the 7 is diminished, and then back to the tonic. So listen to the A minor scale. Okay, so you have A minor, then you have a diminished, then you have an augmented, then you have a minor, then you have a major, then another major, then another diminished, and then another minor. Okay? So it's pretty neat to use the minor scale because you incorporate diminished and augmenteds without even thinking about it, okay? So let's go on to our next slide. All right. When we're doing our chord progressions, as we talked about earlier, we can use the inversions, okay, to make it easier to move around rather than having to go all over the place in root position. We can use our inversions to make it a lot easier to move around. So look at this chord progression here. Okay, that's an A minor. So I have it A minor. This is my 4 chord. I'm just keeping my root on the bottom, and now I'm keeping my top note the same. Okay, so whenever you can use inversions to keep from jumping all over the place, it makes your music much easier for people to play, but also much more enjoyable for your listener. Okay? Whoa. So that's the one that we just did a minute ago. Okay? We have it on there twice. All right, let's look now in your master theory book, and let's look at part writing. Okay? All right, let me get this done here. All right, part writing in your master theory book. Everybody have it? Lesson 41. This is what you're going to be doing this week. I want to go over it with you. All right. So, lesson 41. says this scale contains certain active tones which tend to move in a particular direction. The most important of these are the fourth and the seventh degrees of the scale. All right. The fourth degree of the scale always has a tendency to descend or to go down. So when you're writing any of your compositions, think about these things, okay? So the fourth degree of a scale has a tendency to go down to the third. So let's play a C scale. All right. Here's the four. The four usually goes back to the E. The seventh note has a tendency to go back up to the root. Okay? In the scale. All right? So look at the example A, and it says note the movement of the fourth and the seventh scale degrees in example A. We're in the key of E flat major. Okay? And if you look at that first chord, you'll see that it goes look at where it has the B, and you can see that that E is moving up to the G, but we've kept our bass line the same. All right. Then look at example C. You can see that the A has moved back down to the G. Look at example D. All right. You can see the motion between the parts. So this week, we're talking all about motion. Okay. So you have oblique motion. And oblique motion means that one part stays the same while another part moves. So look at example B up at the top. Do you see how the E is staying the same? Let me point to it with my arrow here. So here's example B, okay? You can see how the E is staying the same, but the E is moving up. So that's called oblique motion. One note stays the same, the others move up. Let's look at example C. An example C is an example of contrary motion. Okay? And in contrary motion, the parts move in opposite directions. If one is going down, the other one's going up. So they're moving in opposite directions. Okay? If you look at example D, everything's moving in the same direction in the same interval. The trick for parallel motion is that the parts are moving in the same direction and staying in the same interval. So if it's a third in the first one, it's going to be a third in the second one. All right. Similar motions means that they're moving in the same direction, but they might change intervals. So the first one might be a fifth and the second one might be a sixth. That's similar motion. Okay. Now, example F here is extremely important, okay? It's considered best to avoid parallel fifths and parallel octaves for the time being because they emphasize those two voices. So try not to have a fifth and a fifth that are parallel. Remember, parallel means that it's exactly the same interval and moving the same direction. So try to avoid having a parallel fifth and then another parallel fifth right after it, okay? Also, try to avoid parallel octaves. So try to avoid having a C octave, move to a G octave. Try to avoid that because it kind of can sound monotonous and it overemphasizes those voices in those particular areas. Now, some of you in your hymns, I made some comments to remind you that you need to switch your voices around a little bit, okay? You don't want to have the same thing all the time in your voices, all right? Any questions so far about that? This week, you're going to do, actually I have your homework slide at the end, so we'll go to that at the end, okay? Hold tight a second. There we go. Now, in your composition book, we're talking about harmonic composition and more sophisticated chord progressions, okay? So here's our melody. It says Wikipedia. Whoops, sorry, B flat. Okay? It says some musicians call altered chords slash chords because the altered bass note is indicated after a slash mark. All right. In some of your popular music, when you see that, you would play an A chord on the right hand and a B chord in the bottom. But you can also use it for intervals, okay, or inversions. Compound chords are often used to signify extremely complex harmonies, those that might otherwise be too complex to notate using traditional chord extensions. So look on the very bottom there, where the green arrow is, right above the green arrow. All right. So they're just telling you basically that you can use the slash to tell you what chord is on the bottom. If you're writing a diminished chord, you can use DIM or a little circle. If you're writing an augmented chord, you can use AUG or a little plus sign to indicate that chord, okay? All right, I need to get over, so we're running out of time. In your textbook, read about the pedal point this week, and we'll talk about that some more. We got a little bit behind there this week, so let me move ahead here. All right, let's move this down. Let me just check my slides right here. Okay, so let me make sure I get you to the right spot that I need you to be before we end class right here. All right. Okay, so let's talk about your composition assignment for this week. Let me get over there for you. Hang tight. All right. Composition assignment coming up right here, hopefully. All right, did anybody write a jingle? I was hoping that some of you would write jingles. Anyway, I want to go over the music composition assignment for this week. I want you to read chapter 5 in your orange book, Music Composition, which is about understanding melody. And then on page 65, I want you to complete that page. And I want you to let me turn to that page so I can show you really fast right here. You don't need to submit this, okay? This is not supposed to be a submission assignment. But I want you to do page 65, and then we're going to discuss it next week. All right? So it's not supposed to be, you don't need to submit that in GradeBox. Let me take that off while I am thinking about it right at the moment. Okay? So we are just going to discuss it, but I want, where it says exercises down at the bottom, that's what I want you to do. I want you to read that, listen to the songs to see which way they're moving, because then we're going to incorporate that into some of our music a bit later. Okay? All right. I opened up a discussion board where you could talk about your jingle. I also opened up an extra credit link. So if you wrote a jingle, you can submit that to me for extra credit, and I'd love to hear it. Okay? So I'd love to have a Big River jingle written by you guys, not written by me. All right. So I'll see you guys next week. Remember, if you have any questions, feel free to call me, text me, come to my office class. Okay. All right. I'll see you guys next week.